can't concentrate with your dog barking.
It's not my dog, it's our dog.
You forced my hand. I never wanted a dog.
You can't do that.
It's a legit move.
No, you can't go back on your word after we already agreed.
Monique, I never wanted a dog.
What did you want?
I want kids.
I can't have kids.
You don't want kids. There's a difference. Sales are down from last quarter, but we're hoping things will pick up by Q3. Yeah.
Doug?
Sorry about that. What? It's,
You alright?
Search warrant? For what?
We're investigating a homicide.
A homicide? What are you talking about?
Is your wife home?
No, she just left for work.
Okay, hey guys, take upstairs.
Wait. Is this about Henry King? You think?
We're not thinking anything. We're just executing a search warrant.
She's the victim here. I mean, you get that, right? She's the one that was drugged and raped.
We understand, sir. We're gonna need you to step aside, please. All right? We won't be
Will
long.
Cooper, I'm the assistant director of the FBI calling from Washington, D.C.
Stéphane Gervais, ici supervisor. What's going on?
We have a credible threat that someone's trying to bring down Parisian Air Flight 2419.
Really? How?
But we don't know that yet, Stéphane. We need your help figuring it out.
Parisian Air 2419 now. It's possible your flight controls have been physically compromised. Can you take a careful look around?
Roger. Standby tower.
Parisian Air 2419 now. Remove the drive from the data loader.
I repeat, remove the drive.
Copy tower.
Oh, they're too low. Immediate right turn, heading
230. Traffic is directly in front of you.
I have control.
Boss, you'll never guess who just knocked on the door.
If I'll never guess, then why not just tell me, jackass? If you say I have 3 guesses, well, then that's a game.
Welcome to Inter Ethers Interviews. You're an actor, a teacher, a musician, an incredible father, but someone we met through, you're a teacher at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute, and you did a Zoom class, in a voiceover Zoom class during COVID that I took with you. At my time at Lee, when I took classes there, all the students there spoke about you. There was always buzz about Marcel's class and how exciting it was. And you're just someone, from my observations, that lives, breathes, dreams, sleeps in creativity, in creation, in theater, in acting, in music, and really just you are an extremely creative person. And that was my interest in wanting to talk to you, kind of pick your brain a little bit, offer people that want to maybe start a path in theater, in acting, or music, or anything that you're passionate about, kind of gain some insight into what you do. I'm just extremely excited to have you here. So I guess you're predominantly an actor, correct?
Yeah.
And a director. You wear so many hats.
I don't know if it's smart. I just can't help myself. I don't know. The teaching is really fun and it creates a stability, like as you mentioned, I have a son, so I, like to, in acting, some weeks you make $6, some weeks you make 6,000. So it's keep that balance there. That's why I've always loved the teaching. I mean, I was in the bar business for years. I had like 2 bars, and that was my other way of keeping things stable. But yeah, so I mean, mainly full time, what I'm doing is acting. So in the sense of like this morning, I just finished a self tape. I got to do another one later this afternoon. I'm doing voiceovers tomorrow for something else. So it's like that's mainly what I do, and then I teach part time. Like so, these days I'm teaching between 10 and 20 hours a week.
What is method acting for those that don't know?
Method acting it has a lot of negative connotations. There's a lot
I don't know
of
why.
because it's easy to. Can I swear on this? Sorry, it's hard for me to swear.
Absolutely. There's no censorship here.
Okay, because everyone kind of like just craps on method because it's like, oh, that's so method acting. It's like they'll say De Niro for Taxi Driver drove a cab for like a month to learn what it's like to be a taxi driver. And people were like, oh, that's so method, but that's just research. There's nothing to do with the method. Some people may or may not have intimidated other actors on set or stayed in character for long periods of time, and people will say it's method, but it's not method. That's just research or choice of the actor. Some people can snap in and out of it. Some people want to keep the accent. Some people want to keep the physicality. Like those are just things that it's not method. Method is really going through your past and your own experiences through your senses to, not recall, but to understand a feeling, to empathize with a feeling, or to imagine a feeling. Like to me, it's like the way I described it at the beginning of the first class. Like, for example, I have a friend who lives in Williamsburg, and every time I go visit her, there's some older people that live on the first floor, and they cook some. I don't know what it is, but there's something. Every time I go there, there's a sensorial experience that propels me to my grandparents' house in an apartment in Montreal.
Sure.
So I don't know what it is, and it's just like that's But so every time I open the door at her place,
Is it the onions? Is it like sauteed onions or something?
I don't know what it is, but every time I see her, I'm like, hey, because I've just thought about my grandparents. Does that make sense? So that's a simple example, but there's an element of being able to, find behavior in your life and discover who you are as a person through these events, through these sensations, using your senses to bring your true feelings to the surface, to then be able to use that behavior to match the behavior of the character. I mean, I could talk about it for like hours, but there's an element of it where, sometimes it's understanding, sometimes it's empathy, and sometimes it's imagination. So there's, I have a lot of dark examples, which I might not share now, but
share, please.
No, because it's very, like, I'm a big fan of imagination and using that in my acting. Because at the beginning, for example, you have a scene where you break up with your girlfriend and it was sunny outside. Ooh, I broke up with someone and it was sunny outside. So you use the place exercise of 23rd and 9th Avenue. It was kind of sunny. You remember through your senses and smelling and seeing and touching that feeling of that place. And then you remember the person you're breaking up with. So you might do what's called a personal animated object. So you touch the person, smell the person, you remember those feelings, and you try to see if your experience can match the story. You want to, thing is, you want to bring,
You in a sensorial type of way, piece together the memory with the present character of the story.
Yeah, to see if the behavior matches. Sometimes it doesn't make any logical sense.
Sure.
Like that example might not be strong enough. So maybe my grandfather was sick or is sick. And in the scene, I'm telling my girlfriend not to leave the apartment, but it's not strong enough. So I might do a personal animated object of my grandfather and tell him not to leave the planet, which is way more drastic. And my grandfather's not my type, but it doesn't matter. The subtext of loss
Emotion.
or that matches. So
it's tapping into your historical emotion of a situation that you experienced at some point in your life, recalling it in specific ways like objects or places or temperature or music or something to kind of draw in what your character is feeling. I remember as a student, it's not easy to do that. I think you could have, so there's natural talent, but I think there's also effort and work that you can do to become a good actor, even if you may not possess that natural talent. Do you agree?
Totally. I think discipline, I think, is the big part of it.
Sure.
There's an element of, I always think of it as like it's your mind, like your mind, your soul, like your who you are as a person, your sensitivity, your observing human behavior, opening yourself up to experiences, your voice and your body. And the body and the voice are things you can very much develop if I talk to you like this and I talk to you like this, it's like a different story. So just being aware of your instrument, or like I do a lot of voiceovers, and when you're doing the thing and making sure that things are, like there's an element of helps the story on
You
top.
are so trained, though. You are so seasoned. You are so trained. It's almost like, the Marcel today. When did acting first? When did performing or
I I
when did
was
it
I was too shy as a kid.
really?
Like I did music, like I was forced to do classical piano,
Like every
which
child.
like I had, no, I was like I was forced to do it. I had to do like an hour a day. I had a timer, and as soon as the timer went off, like after my hour of practice, I had to do a day. I would stop like mid piece and just run and go play basketball, skateboard, and go see my friends. So there was an element of it, like, but then later on in life, I thanked my parents deeply for making me do that.
Were
And
your
I'm doing the
parents,
same
sorry
for my
to
son.
interrupt, were your parents creative people? Are your parents creative people?
They they had artistic tendencies and appreciation for art, but it was a thing where we all had to do a sport and we all had to do an art.
Okay.
So it was an interesting thing. Like my dad's a lawyer that teaches cops, and then my mom was a child psychologist that had children. Like so, she never, the colleges would call her to teach because she was really high up in that world. But they weren't really artists themselves. They were hippies and they had some paintings around the house that they did and a sculpture and little things here and there, but they weren't
Sure.
not as a profession. If that makes sense.
Of course it makes sense.
Yeah. But
So
then, so yeah, so sorry to continue that. Basically, my sister, she was in a theater group, and basically she took me one day to her. It was like a clowning neutral mask class, and I was like, "What is this?" Because I used to do little videos, like we had a little handy cam, and I would do little films and stuff like that with my family. Like I come from a big family, and I would put them in my little movies and do little things. But I never told my friends that. And I would write poetry and I would write songs, but I never really
you
told my
did it, you did it like you didn't want to,
I guess get teased or embarrassed. And I don't know, my friends, we were, some of them were a little bit older and
how old
cool.
were you at the time?
Like 14, 15.
Interesting.
Right. My teen years
Like
were
influenced by music, the poetry influenced by music, or
mm,
no?
poetry just by reading and, getting into Rimbaud and Baudelaire and all these French, poets that we would
I'm not
start.
familiar.
Just start getting stuff from school, and I'm like, "Oh, this is interesting." And then I wouldn't really. My friends weren't into that so much, so I just kind of did that secretly. Anyway, so I went to this theater group one night with my sister, and then really ended up liking it. And then I was going to go into international development because I just wanted a job I could use my languages and travel. And then my girlfriend at the time was doing an internship at the UN here in New York. And I was like, it was out of fear. And I do a lot of choices like that out of fear of regretting. Like if I'm scared of something, I have to do it.
And
So
you
there's,
always had that?
I guess
Huh. Because that's a gift.
it's a weird thing. I just remember one time in an improv class in New York, I didn't go up. And the whole subway ride home, like it really
Yeah.
so upset that I didn't go up. So the following week, I rose my hand first, and I went up, and I was like, ah, and then everyone laughed, and then it like in a good way. And then I was like, oh, okay, good. So like I've always kind of made decisions like that. Like a year ago, someone wrote a play for me, and I was like, a play? I hadn't done one in a while. I was kind of scared, and it was very personal. She wrote it for me, so it was very kind of a personal story, and I was like, ah. And as I made that sound, I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to do this one. Do you know what I mean? So, which I did. So glad I did. So yeah, basically, I was going to do international development, and then I ended up doing this. And since my girlfriend at the time was coming to New York, I was like, let me just try. Let me just try like a summer session, which ended up being a summer session at Strasberg and NYU Tisch, and that's the program I teach now.
And so were you like early 20s at this time?
I was 18. 18 and change, yeah.
Yeah, very brave. And then from that point, was it just something that you knew was going to be your path?
I just didn't like anything else. And I just was very curious about it. Didn't know what I was doing. Like the way I kind of look at it is, like if I just jumped in the pool, almost drowned, and then got to the other side. Like if I knew what I had to do, I probably wouldn't have done it. Like a lot of decisions, like the bar was like that. If I had an Excel sheet of what we had to do to build this place, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have invested in the stock. But since I started, I was like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do this. It was one of those where I don't know. It just was something I've always wanted to do. And the more I did it, the more I liked it. And then I booked a little play, and then I booked a little commercial. Then I got into SAG. And then I was like, oh, and then I remember my father being, you can make some money doing this. Like he felt, there was kind of like a weird indirect stamp of approval.
Of course.
So that was, I guess, solidified the choice, if that makes sense.
You've had quite a career since you started. You've had roles in The Blacklist, God Friended Me, Gotham, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Fringe, Law and Order, Ed, and Strangers with Candy. You have directed over 10 films. Hologramme. Can you tell me about Hologramme?
Hologramme was kind of like a test to see if because my son is the main actor in it.
Mm-hmm. Did he get paid?
What's that?
Did he get paid?
Yes, he negotiated with me. I was never so proud and insulted at the same time. Because it's a true story that happened to me when I was a kid, where Jam and the Holograms was this kind of knockoff of Barbie. It's like these, it's a different.
Remember it well.
Yeah, I go ahead.
Are we similar? I think I'm older than you. I'm 48. How old are you?
47.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Jam and Holograms. I know all about it.
So for me, I remember as a kid, I saved some money and to buy my, I guess my girlfriend at the time, like I'm in kindergarten, like really fucking like first grade, to buy her a Barbie. And I'm sure my dad helped to buy it. It was probably like you shovel the snow 3 days or whatever. But she had appendicitis, so I didn't know what that was. Péritonite, I think it is in French. Appendicitis, like something in the abdomen. So I felt bad that she had to go to the hospital and this whatever. So I came over to her house and I bought her this Barbie and to give it to her as a gift. And then
sweet.
Yeah, and her parents left, and then she showed me like the scar, which was a little bit lower in her, kind of waist area. And I remember being like, "What the?" And then just, very young. And then I gave her the Barbie, and that was it. And we were boyfriend, girlfriend. Very, we didn't even hold hands, or like it was what it was. So I remember that story and I wrote it down but I wanted it to be like about assumptions, like and the material thing of getting someone something and then assuming they'll give you something in return, and just kind of like that was the exploration. So in the film, the boy is like, he's picking up bottles, he's doing this, he's doing all these things, and he finally gets his father. It's all set in the 1988 or something like that. So where he goes and he has this fantasy sequence when he goes to the store. So you're not sure what's going on. So you think the kid's buying a Barbie doll for himself. He's a boy, but it's the 80s, so it's not as open-minded, and the father's like, whatever. So you're not sure what's going on. Like you think maybe the dad's supportive, or I don't know, because back then you'd be like, let's get a truck, whatever.
Right.
So we're just giving a little bit of information, but he goes into this fantasy sequence, and there's this whole slow motion 80s thing where the girl comes over and grabs the thing and gives him like a kiss on the cheek, and then the father snaps him out of the thing, and then he comes back, and then in our version, he's the anticipation of going to bring the Barbie to the girl. She comes in and she grabs the Barbie and she gets it. And he's like, oh my God, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. And then she's like, thanks. And then just puts it in the pile and walks away. So he has his heart broken. Yeah. So it was the film, we did in the pandemic too, with my friend Andres Caru, who's this amazing, amazing DP. And, we rented a few cars from the 80s, very low budget, which was all from money from a commercial that my son and I did together. Like I invested his money and then I shot this with it. And it was a test to see if he would be into it. So it was like 5 days. He was
interesting.
And it was like, I grew a mustache and everything for it. And which I shared.
That's very method.
Yeah, method. It's weird because I turned into my father. I didn't realize I was playing. I wasn't going to play the part originally. I had someone, other actor, and he got a big TV show. So I was like, I'll just do it, you know. And then I started developing the character, and I had the beer my dad had, the green, my dad like the station wagon, all these things. And my aunt was like, "Oh my God, you look just like Pierre." And I was like, "Huh." Like I didn't realize I was doing that. So anyway, it was a test that to see if he got into it. It was fun. We learned a lot, and it was interesting seeing him experience what I do through his eyes. You know,
Sure.
He's like, why do we got to do it again? I did it already, and I'm like, oh. And then so it's starting to realize that. But then once we started doing some screenings, and he got to wear a suit and stuff, he was like in the Q&As, and he realized like, oh, people come and appreciate and see our story.
Right. I think there's a bit of liking to perform for an audience. And I suppose there's an appreciation for when an audience likes what you do. It's a rush. It's got to be somewhat of a rush and makes you feel good. And
that improv I was talking about at the beginning, when some people laughed, I was like, it creates something. And in theater, you have the immediate response, or if it's a drama, they come talk to you after the play. So you have the kind of immediate, I don't want to say gratification, but confirmation that you're doing something, you're moving something, you're telling a story. And in film, it's different because you give them pieces and then you hope that they put them together the same way you think the story is going to be put together. And then, and a lot of times it is. But there's kind of a real delay there. That's what was interesting, witnessing my son seeing that. Like
awesome.
9 months later, we go to the cinema and we see the movie, and he's like, "Oh, you know what I mean?" So it was interesting. A lot of what I realized through him applies to adults.
Sure. Do you have a studio in your apartment?
Yeah, I have in the pandemic, I switched spaces. So I got a basement, which is soundproof, and it's a godsend because, like, for example, tomorrow I'm doing Emily in Paris, like that Netflix show. Like I do voices on that, and then I'm doing that from my basement. So it's like I have like the voiceover studio and then the self-tape studio.
So you can work from home, do whatever they need you to do, send it over to them, and you're done. Oh,
yeah, like this, the auditions. Yeah, some voiceovers I do for Canada, I'll just do them whenever I want, send it to them. Emily in Paris, we do it on Zoom. So it's like 5 other actors, or 5 actors total. And we just go from cue to cue and,
wow, very, very cool.
Do 3 episodes, but that's my day tomorrow from 9 to 6. Like,
you seem to have steady work because of how versatile you are.
I think it's just because I'm old and been doing it for a little bit that you end up creating.
I think what really struck me when I took classes with you was just how trained your instrument really is, and how you can just pull something out so easily. How many languages do you speak?
I speak French as my first language. English, I don't like the word neutralize, but Americanized. Like sometimes I would say some things off, close the light or turn off on the. Like I would say some stuff that would be off.
Oh, so, you close the light?
Yeah, I used to say close the light or paper toilet instead of toilet paper. Like sometimes I would say some things that just sound
funny.
Done. Like they would sound silly, but with no accent. So I just sounded like. I don't know. I speak French, English, Spanish, a little bit of Italian, this much Japanese, and then I'm learning Russian right now. But really, just English, French, and Spanish. I can fake my way through a lot of these other ones. And as the accents, I just love accents. Like I don't know. There's just something really fun.
So French is too easy, but can you do a Scottish accent?
Like a Scottish accent is great, but you have to have a text to do it. Like it's sometimes this is a very cartoony version of it. If obviously I had a text,
can you do the cartoon version and the non-cartoon version?
I mean, it's kind of like if you're doing New York, you're doing this thing, it's kind of cartoony, right? But then you can do one that's, I always tell our students, like, start with the archetype, like, hey, get the fuck out of here. Like, you know, you start with that, but then you bring it down, like, hey, get the fuck out. Like, hey, what the fuck? You know, you start bringing it down to somewhere that's a little bit more, you know, realistic. So you find, I tell them, start with the stereotype, then find the archetype, and then find your type. And it depends on the product. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's also interesting some cultures and different things you can be more cartoony with. Like I do a lot of French and a lot of French from France. It's like, well, what is this? Like I remember being on a big movie and I asked the directors, am I being too cartoony? And the guy was like, Marcel, just so you know, we had a meeting about you wearing a beret and constantly having a baguette under your arm. So I was like, okay, I'm fine. So I mean, that's a whole other discussion as far as like, you know, colonizing countries and whatnot. And so, you know, certain accents you can do.
Sure. Without,
I've just been in auditions and they're like, can you make it more French? And I'm like, well, but of course. And then they're like, okay, great, you know, but you can't do that with everywhere, you know, as you should.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, I just saw him. He was just explaining why it is that he loves doing what he did. And he just said that, you know, you can, you know, being an actor is making people believe that.
I saw that. I know what you mean.
Yeah, that something is there that absolutely is not. And that's a really beautiful thing about actors and the human spirit and tapping into that and making another person feel that way is an incredible thing to do, especially as a profession. I mean, it's just it's giving and receiving, you know, all the emotions that we're kind of capable of.
That's interesting because I remember at a young age, like feeling selfish. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at me, look at what I'm doing. Like there was an element of, you know, you feel sometimes, I think, as an artist, like a little selfish of your quest and your next thing and your audition and talking about yourself and all that kind of stuff. And I remember though one moment where I was missing my grandma's funeral because of a fucking play, you know, and because the understudy was taking a vacation and I didn't want to mess up everything. So I stayed, you know, and my mom was okay. It was like the whole thing was fine and it was okay, but it wasn't, I just was really upset.
Sure.
And then after the show, this older woman came up to me and she was very moved and she had tears in her eyes and she was like, thanks. She was just saying like, oh my God, you reminded me of my grandson. And she had her like kind of teary eyed and everything. And so there was an element of like, oh, okay, maybe I was supposed to move this. Like it made me realize that we are helping people feel, get in touch with things, see things, sometimes just entertain them, distract them, make them laugh and make them feel. So there's a human element of that I don't find selfish at all anymore. I think it's like, okay, that I got it. After that moment, I understood a little bit more like, oh, this isn't selfish. This is a different job. And even calling yourself an actor, I think for young actors, it's a thing. And it's interesting too. Like I think about it with my son now, like I try to open these doors for him. Like he's learning guitar and he's actually, and again, I'm not objective because I'm his father, but he's actually really good.
Yeah.
Sure. And as a thing, like he just did a commercial for Lego and like, but I don't want him. I just like that artistic door. One day he was having a bad day. He came out, he went and played guitar for a little bit and came back. And I was like, you okay? He's like, yeah, I just was feeling whatever, but I feel better now. Like he let it out in the guitar, like, you know, it's a little electric guitar. So I was like, he was using it the right way. And then like he did a film the other day where he was like, yeah, I think my character kind of slouches a lot because he's not a good kid. And he just was like, huh, like just not. So he was starting to think in those terms. And I always tell him like, you don't have to do this because Papa does this. You know, I'm proud of you because you were scared, because it was a challenge and you succeeded. I'm not proud of you because it's an acting thing. So I'm always like, we can drop this at any moment. And he's liking it more and more. He likes meeting the people, and there's an element of it. He gets very attached to the crew and the people, and then I'm not going to see these people again. I'm like, yeah, it's again seeing through his eyes, and so. But I like that for me. It's just a kind of a door to open. But for me, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know, like when I find like-minded people that create, I get inspired by that.
Of course. Do you ever feel like you're channeling things through when you perform?
I mean, this one definitely because it was about it was written for me and it was about divorce and having a child. So it was like, I mean, it could have been more on the money of channeling feelings, if that makes any sense. And it was interesting because it's an audience, it's whatever. It's work. I like it. I love it, and it was fun. But then I remember my sister came one night, and the producer sat her right in front of me, and I was just like, why? Like I wanted to give her a good seat, but then I could see her there, and it was fine. But it was more emotional that night, which is.
Because she had kind of been there for you during.
Yeah, and also been through it also. So there was a different element to it. She's my other sister she's a modern dancer. She's amazing. Actually, you should meet her because she's very high up in the choreography world. And
Interesting.
yeah, she's coming to stay with me for a couple weeks soon. But she's like she's number two. Well, there's a lot of kids in my family. I'm number one. She's number two, and I don't know. We're similar because we work in the arts and whatnot. So not that we don't.
They're on the same frequency.
Yeah, like she gets.
Yeah, yeah. You're creatives.
Mm.
So you direct as well. You've directed. I mean, from the list I have here, it's over 10, but it's could be more than that. And I'm sure. You're the first person to help up and coming students. You've been a mentor. How many students have you mentored in your life, do you think?
I don't know.
You're so accessible. You're incredibly accessible.
I try to. I have this older brother mentality of doing it. I'm doing it still. Do you know what I mean? Because I've had teachers where you're like, you call the studio, and I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, there's an element of it, like, I like being. I mean, there's a. I don't know. There's an element of it where I like to participate and help, and if I can, but if depend. Obviously, there's a line too. Like I've had some students ask a lot of questions, and they're like, "Who's your agent?" And you're like, "That's none of your business." There's like you can kind of. It's gotten really easy over the years to sniff out who's an artist that needs a little nudge.
Yeah.
I just talked to someone recently, and I can tell she's beautiful, but she just needs a little nudge.
Right.
So we did a little Zoom, and I nudged her.
Right.
So there's an element of that, and then it's easy to kind of decipher people that need something, if that makes sense.
Right. Of course, no. Well, people that are using you and people that appreciate you. There's, two different kinds of people in the world. Is an ultimate goal to have in the future all of a lot of your time and energy in a director's chair, or where do you see your journey going?
I mean, I kind of do the same I'm doing now. Like I would love to have in an ideal world, maybe teach a little bit less hours and have one master class that I go to once a week, and that's what I do. Then I would love to be doing acting in some little sitcoms so that I can buy the house upstate and travel where I want to go, and then be able to fund my independent films when I'm off season. Do you know what I mean? It's like that element of, obviously that's the perfect dream. Do you know what I mean? And then have enough time to build a recording studio and record my little songs on the weekends. It's like there's an element of like being able to do that. But a lot of what I'm doing is but at a higher level, and slowly it'll always increasing. And sometimes you get a little break, and then sometimes you're like, why am I doing the student film? You kind of go back and forth, and it's picking your battles. Like sometimes I'll do a film that will cost me money, but I want to tell that story. And then sometimes I'm selling a product that I'm not even sure what the product is.
Right. Sure. It all
balance of art versus business. I just did a film where I was able to play all of these, which was so fun. Like I had to actually make songs with these guys. They're amazing. They were really inspiring artists. Like the thing I was doing in Jersey was just kind of loose, run and gun, character driven. And this one was very like meticulous, specific. So it was really interesting, the contrast. Because sometimes you show up on set, you don't know what it's going to be like, Sometimes
it's a well-oiled machine and sometimes it's a hot mess. So
yeah, And the hot mess is just as good as like I remember working on a commercial for Sam Mendes, and it was just the most controlled environment, calm, and it was in a studio at Silver Cup. And then the following week, we were doing a commercial with Michelle Gondry, and it was fucking chaos.
Yeah.
Same studio.
Well,
You know,
it's
but it was
down.
interesting because both products were really interesting in their own way. I mean, there's just like different approaches of how to get there, and I don't know. It's just interesting. Like I just did this thing in Canada. It was like early 1900s, and I had to basically. I'm the owner of this wool factory, and it's all these young French Canadian women, and it's basically like a sweatshop, you know. And I'm just yelling at them, like they're the strikers outside, and like it was this long page and a half speech. So I, worked it because I didn't know how it was going to be, and I showed up, and then I realized we're doing this one long take. I was like, okay, we're doing the master. And then maybe we'll start chopping it up. And then I turned to the director. I was like, are you doing a wonder? He's like, oh, yeah, we're just doing this one long. So I was like, oh, okay. So I had to nail it every time, because we weren't cutting into it. And we did it 27 times, not because of me, just because of this other person, whatever. But so there's this element that was really like, it was interesting because I didn't know. I showed up and I was just like, oh, we're doing it once. So it's like always hurry up and wait and be ready for anything.
How do you keep yourself tuned for the 28th time?
You try different things. I always try to give the editor different pieces. Because if I'm just like, hi, how's it going? Hi, how's it going? Hi, how's it? Like I'm just giving him the same piece of the puzzle to play with. So, and I learned that from editing myself. I change my performance. I'll be like, hi, how's it going? Hi, how's it going? Hi, how's it going? Like obviously still the same story.
But see, you pull it out so naturally. You do make it look very easy. But you're trained.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. To me, that was like a realization that one time, and I was like, oh, I should give them different options. And then that editor at the party told me, he was like, it's so cool. Like every time he would give me a little variation. So it was easier for me to make your performance better. So I always mentioned that to students, but I always tried to do that. So like there's one take I messed up because because it was a page and a half, like a monologue, but all the other ones, like I tried to do more menacing, more superior. And then I decided to do some more like, he's not sure what's going, like I tried to give them variation because it could go either way. So, and there's a freedom there because of just if you're giving the editor and the director pieces to play with, as opposed to trying to nail the performance, it's liberating.
Yeah.
Like I remember doing this comedy and I tried different ways of doing it. And I know the director was like, no, maybe more like this. Okay, no, maybe more like that. Maybe more. I'm like, okay. And the other actor's like, you okay? I was like, why? Because he thought I was trying so hard to nail it. I'm like, no, this is fun. I'm giving them, and I know once he gets in the editor room, he'll be like, oh shit, like I have these different
Right.
And that's again from being on set. I was doing this one film where the director and we were doing A and B. Version A was the woman I was talking to was my long lost mother. And version B was this waitress I found attractive. So very conflicting relationships. And then I'd be A, he's like, yeah, A. And then I know, so when he edited the film, it was really interesting. So he could play with those two things. So since then, that again illuminated. I guess it's just examples that happen from working. You realize like, oh, I should give them more options. It's like, it's okay. It's
okay to play.
Yeah, because you always mentioned being trained, and some of it is definitely training. But there's some training that you can only learn by doing.
Right.
Because there's only so much the instrument and the relaxation and the concentration and all these things are very, very useful to be in touch with your instrument. But you got to go out there and play it.
In Lee, sitting on the chair in the beginning and raising your arm and dropping it and raising your leg and dropping it. And there's a sound element to that as well, isn't there?
Yes.
You start like emitting some sound.
Yeah, like moaning, like ha, ha, and then gibberish, and then speaking out in whatever language, and then you do like an exercise monologue. So there's kind of a progression there.
Is that somewhat of a relaxation technique?
I look at it as developing your concentration and allowing your instrument to be able to open up and feel and express and be curious and then go back and pay your taxes. So there's an element of like, I find it like as a way.
An opening?
Yeah, like because you develop your concentration. Like we talked about it earlier, like being concentrated and being distracted. Like if you're on set and there's like 100 people looking at you, you have to be very focused on what you're doing. So you're really allowing your body to deepen and commit and concentrate, but also feel and express what it needs to express. So I find like just this allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel and feel safe trying these things, and then being able to go back and you know.
Do you apply those techniques still to?
It's funny, like the more you do sensory or techniques, because I studied Meisner and I studied different things too.
What's
Like
the difference? I'm not familiar with Meisner.
Yeah, well, Meisner is very much listening and responding.
Okay. Cause and effect.
Yes, but it's just more like right now you're going like this with your hands.
Yeah.
So like I'm kind of like, okay, I'm listening to you, and then now you're really smiling. So it's more like reacting. And acting. There's as ifs and there's a lot of different things. But I studied both techniques. I studied with Maggie Flanagan from the Maggie Flanagan Studio, and she was just.
Is that Meisner?
Yeah, very much so. So she's amazing. Like the way I describe it, it's like acting is doing under imaginary circumstances from unanticipated moment to unanticipated moment. So doing is an action. Like Stella Adler would focus more on that. At the end of the day, you do all three.
Yeah.
It's all Stanislavski.
What was Stella Adler?
Adler is more, from what I understand, I never studied it, but from knowing a little bit of people that went there, is more action based. So Romeo and Juliet, I'm not telling Juliet I love her. I'm making her understand I love her. Actually, I'm making her trust me. And obviously you personalize that and develop that. So it's a bit more action based. Us, it's imaginary circumstances. Like I'm at the same balcony that if someone finds me, I'm going to get killed. And then, oh, there's my Juliet. I have, something to hold on to. And then moment to moment, which would be Meisner, is kind of like, oh, is she responding? Is she buying what I'm selling? Oh, I'll flirt with her. Okay, no, I'll make a commitment. I'll declare my love, and I'll try different ways of attaining that objective, which, they all kind of blend with each other. You can't just do actions because then you're like a robot. You can't just feel because then it's a little masturbatory. And then, there's an element of it also, you can't just listen and respond because it needs to grow and go somewhere. So I always mention like you're doing under imaginary circumstances from unanticipated moment to unanticipated moment. So the more you do it, all the techniques, the less you do the techniques because they become part of you. Your body is open to feel what it needs to feel and then go back. So
you develop your own. You develop. Yeah. With all of them, you develop your own kind of method for.
I haven't done a personal object since I don't remember when,
right.
Because it's not because I'm above it or anything like that. It's just because it becomes part of what you do.
Right. Right. You're trained.
Just go to. Like I had this film, the director, it's a big film, black and white. He's a painter. This is like the third suicidal painter of the year that I played for some reason that year. And I'm not going to paint it. So I don't know what that means. But so like there's a big shot through a piece of glass and my character's painting and he sees color for the first time. Like he becomes inspired, alive, still wants to live moments. It's a big moment in the movie where the whole movie goes from black and white to color. So the director, he's there and I'm looking at it. He's like, Marcel, I want you to look at that paint like it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but it scares the living shit out of you. So I was like, oh, cool, birth of my son, so I just, and instead of going like, I'm doing a place and all stuff, I just went to that and I did it. I felt it because I felt that same beauty, but also fear of responsibility of keeping this thing, which was at the time alive, and that fit. It doesn't make any sense, but it made sense. And the director was like, cut, that's lunch. And then we went to lunch. So there was an element of it like where part of it is because you do that sensory for a certain amount of years that you start, I look at it as finding behavior. It's not anger level 6 and sadness level 2, but you start finding ingredients that you know how to cook with and that to tell a story, your script. At the beginning, you have a grilled cheese. I need bread, I need butter, I need cheese, and then you make the grilled cheese and you serve it. But later, you just fucking make the grilled cheese. It's like, what else do you, I got curry. Like you start being able to cook and being able to just do without having to do the technique. So there's a there that becomes free. But it's also it's interesting because you mentioned that to students. It's like the more you do sensory, the less you'll do sensory, and then they get confused. So you have to become part of your instrument. The beginning, you do your scales, you play the piece, but later you just play.
What advice would you give to someone that doesn't even know how to get started?
Go hang out with better actors than you. Go see good acting.
That's great advice.
Because if you hang out with people that are not as good as you, you're going to feel good about yourself, but you're never going to grow. Then I think is go to see performances as much as possible, like indie film or whatever films you like. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not like I love Mission Impossibles. Like like whatever films and the type of you want to do.
Great actor too.
God, yes, she's amazing.
Fantastic.
So like that, and then it's like getting in class and trying it. Because I know I have a lot of actors, old students that, because there's the business of it and then there's the doing of it. Do you know what I mean? And some people are really good at selling themselves, but they don't have any depth. And some people have a ton of depth, but they don't go out there.
Yeah.
So there is this dilemma, or that I see through NYU and through Strasberg and through everyone, because it's not for everyone.
Sure.
The going out there and getting a job, do you know what I mean, is a big thing, because it takes, you have to make lists, and like our artists were inspired, and but you have to have a discipline. Like I always think of Hemingway writing every day from 8 to 12, then go do whatever he did afterwards. But he would write those 200 words a day, and he would show up, and is always mentioning like, once you're at the gym, you're going to work out. But what's tough is getting your ass to the gym. So there's an element of like all of these things, and being honest with yourself of like, okay, this is what kind of actor I am. I'm like, sure, but look on paper, look at your website, look at your reel. That's the kind of actor you are, because that's what we see. So you need to, like, if you don't like what they're saying about you, change the conversation. So there's an element of, sorry, I'm going into teaching mode now, but there's an element of it where discipline and time, like my dad always mentioned, like make a list.
Yeah.
If you do 50% of your list, it's a good day. And I'm like, 50%? But I do that all the time. Like I have a list, and I put red on it when I do the stuff done. I have
a list every single day.
I'm kind of like neurotic with my fucking list. Like, but I hold myself accountable.
Right.
And at the end of the year, you're like, oh shit, I did some stuff,
I think there's also just being able to know who you are and not letting the rejection aspect get the better of you, because you're not going to fit most places, and you will fit into one. So just being able to understand that nothing is personal.
It's tough, but
Yeah.
You go through experiences. A lot of it is through experience.
Yep.
Where I've had some where I booked it, but very last minute, and I'm like, this is weird. And then go to the Hamptons for like a week, and like, okay, cool. And then later at the wrap party, I find out they're like, oh, it's so glad they got you back in. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, the director wanted to cast you, but then the producer's son wanted to be in it. They started rehearsing, and then they fired him on the first day, and that's why you showed up last minute. And I'm like, huh. Or I have a film I've booked twice now. They shook my hand. They're like, you're the guy. We're shooting it this time. And now I still haven't shot this movie. It's been 6 years. So it's like you start realizing sometimes it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
And it's tough to feel that, because sometimes you get attached. I had one last week. So like, it was a big campaign, like, a car that I need to buy kind of money. And it was a week in Prague. And I was like, I could deal with that. And I got the call back. And then the guy's like, that's excellent. Oh my God, you take direction so well. Dude, you're killing it. Amazing, amazing. And then they called and they're like, could Marcel leave a day earlier if he needed to? And I'm like, yes, I could. Yeah. So then I'm like, wait, and then, but, you get bummed out for like a day. But then you got another audition you got to do the next day. So there's an element of it. I don't know. I guess my advice would be
perseverance.
Do it.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. Do it. Because all these examples that you're mentioning are things that I've learned from doing it, I guess.
Right. I am going to wrap this with a question that I ask everyone. And we're going to put it into kind of a carousel of everyone's answer, if only if you approve. And that is, what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life. I don't know. My first impulse is family, friends, and love. And the first thing that came up was giving love and receiving love. Not giving it to receive, but I don't know. There's an image of planting that and trying to aim to be good and help. Like when I think of love, I think of my parents' sacrifices and what they did for me. And then friends and family also involved in that too. And then a lot of it for me is my son. Like, what can I do? Like a lot of my meaning and my purpose. Yeah, I tell stories, I do these jobs and all these things, which I love to do, but a lot of it has shifted where for me, the meaning of life is it's like opening doors for him and making him feel supported and loved. Like to me, it's like I'm just showering him with love. He's like a plant that I water with love, and then I see the results, and it's great. And I sometimes he learns things, sometimes he makes mistakes. But to me, that is a big part of my purpose meaning here, which also makes me reflect on what my parents did for me. So
Really, really beautiful. It's really apparent how great of a father you are, and how encouraging you are. It's so apparent. I just really wanted to display how passionate you are, how much it works in your life, how you are a working actor, how you are making a living as a working actor. And I just think what you're doing is incredible. And you're giving a lot to, a lot of the people that come across your path. You gave a lot to me, just me taking the few classes that I did with you, and I really look forward to actually taking your class again at Acting 22. Thank you so much for your time, for your heart, for your work, and have a wonderful day.